All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Granted. We are back with another episode of Granted.
Hey guys, welcome back to Granted.
As you may be able to tell, this is a new setting. This is a new person. Okay, we've just entered a new time of our lives. So welcome back to another episode of Granted. We have officially been in Tennessee for almost a month now.
Basically,
4 weeks. This is the take 2. Yeah, we're going.
Okay,
Are you
wow.
ready?
Yeah, I guess I'm ready. Let's go.
Now we're good. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Granted. Today, I'm here with one of my closest friends from college so far. I know a few Jacks, all right? So here is another one of my good buddies. I'll let Jack take it away, introduce himself.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, first of all. It's great to be with you, my man.
Absolutely.
My name is Jack Lennon. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area out in California. I'm a freshman here at UT, and I am majoring in finance and communication studies.
Okay, so aren't you doing a minor in
No, it's a dual major. Yeah. So I
in
have
finance
two
and
majors.
communication?
Yeah, it's not as much work as it sounds like. It's not that fancy.
Well, because normally, you got your communication majors are a little bit, that is supposed to be the easiest major,
It's supposed
correct?
Yeah, and finance is also supposed to be pretty easy.
And so far, has that been easy for you?
I'd say communication studies has actually been a lot harder for me so far.
Okay. So it's been above your expectation.
It has been, and finance has been below my expectation. Unfortunately.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm learning a lot, but not a lot.
With that combination, what would you like to do with the combination?
Well, I want to get into sports broadcasting. You and I have talked about that.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm doing communication studies, but that's a lofty goal. Probably not going to happen. So my dad works in finance. So
Yeah.
worst case, I go work for my dad. That's why I'm picking up the finance degree, because everyone needs finance people. So it's a good career.
I think that's smart. Don't count yourself out.
I won't. No, I
You're
never
saying,
will.
I might not become a sports broadcaster. You're doing the right things. You could even talk about, the Torch Sports that you're doing.
Yeah.
Talk to, what is Torch Sports? How long have you been involved in it? How has it developed since you got here?
Yeah, well, Torch Sports, I'm sure everyone watching this doesn't know what it is, because we get about 60 viewers a week.
Yeah,
But
Well, it's shooting up. It's going up though.
Yes, it's a student media organization that talks about sports around the country, whether it's college football. Most of the segments are on college football, given the fact we go to a football school.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's also segments that we have that talk about professional sports, NFL, NBA, a little bit of MLB. But it's just a student media organization, a bunch of kids who love sports, and we get on the air. We dress up nice and we talk about sports for our viewership of our mothers and fathers
And family members, yeah.
So yeah, it's fun. It's not a very strenuous activity. It's not a ton of work, but it is a lot of fun. So I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about joining that, but I think just from the broadcasting perspective, it's a good way for you to get acclimated to the cameras and the lights.
Yeah,
and
well,
that stuff.
there's not many lights, but I will tell you, it helps you get more comfortable in front of the camera for sure. That's why I'm doing it, is to get that sort of acclimated, like you said, to being in that environment. So
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. But let's get into, it's finals week here in Tennessee. Everyone is back from Thanksgiving break. I personally had my highs and lows during the break. I'm curious what your best moment and maybe a lower moment was for you going back home.
Well, I went home. I live in Nashville now over the last 3 months. So I went, 5 months now. But I went back there. It was great to see my family. I was a little sick when I arrived to Nashville. So my mom was able to get me all better. So that was, my high was being able to watch my Broncos win, Denver Broncos win with my dad. So I haven't been able to watch a game with him in a year. But it was fun to be able to do that. And also just, the low was probably just how cold it was, man.
Yeah.
It was freezing in Nashville. So those of you who live in Nashville, I went to the Vanderbilt game against Tennessee.
You did?
I did,
That's
but we
so
left at
sick.
the end of the third quarter because Tennessee was starting to pull away and it was getting freezing. So, so mom wanted to bail.
Mom will always have the control
The
of the
final say,
situation.
executive
Always,
decision.
always.
Yeah. What was your highs and lows?
My high was definitely, there's only a few people that I had talked to, but if you go to an out-of-state school, you most likely will not see your family for a lot longer than the kids around you,
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to kids at CU Boulder, I've talked to kids who are going to different schools. Being at Tennessee and being from Colorado, I had not seen my family in 3 months, like a quarter of a year, the longest I've ever gone without seeing them. So the highlight was just simply like being able to be there at your real home,
Yes.
where you grew up and where you were raised. So that was really special to just be able to see them. Your dog.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's
God.
what hit home for me too.
Oh my! I think everyone can agree that like missing your dog is probably one of the worst.
It is.
That's one of the hardest things, if not the hardest thing about being in college.
And the best moment of getting home, apart from getting a hug from mom and dad, is when the
Your dog's reaction?
The dog realizes
Yes.
you're back. Yeah.
What
and
was
that
your
you're not-
dog's reaction?
Oh, he was going crazy. He sees me every month, but I go home about once a month. But he, every time I walk out that door, he thinks I just ceased to exist. until I come
Yeah.
back.
That's exactly how mine was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the reaction makes your day, man.
100%. And that's like, you see all the videos of the reactions blowing up on TikTok and whatnot. It's because every dog, I think they really do feel like we're not coming back.
Yeah, I do. I agree.
Especially for the longer it gets, the more they probably think, this dude is not coming back home.
Yeah,
He's
no,
just
yeah.
left us
Yeah,
completely.
he's gone. But they don't forget about you.
They don't
Studies
forget.
show that the dog, they'll go years without forgetting about you.
Yeah. And even like my mom will say my name on FaceTime and she'll kind of at certain times she will pick up on that.
Yeah.
On just saying the name.
No, yeah. I'll be calling my mom and I'll talk to the dog and he'll start going, looking around. But he doesn't see me. He can't see me. So.
Right.
But
It's
he knows.
so confusing.
He knows. He knows.
Do you think he knows that you're still out there? Or do you think
I don't know.
do they think we're dead, or do they think
I think they think we're dead.
we just left them?
We're just gone. We've ceased to exist, but they don't forget about our memory until they see us and then they go, oh my goodness, he's still alive.
And yeah, does your dog ever get mad after you leave? And like after you come back, does your dog ever get mad because they realize that you left him?
No,
He's just all happy.
He just lays down next to me. He's lazy, so
That's nice.
yeah. Once he gets that quick burst of energy when he sees me, he's like back to being a carpet after that. Just
A carpet.
Just laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An extension of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How old is your dog?
My dog's 5.
Okay.
How old is yours?
7.
7.
What kind of dog you got?
She's a mix of a lot of different breeds. 13
she's a
different
mutt?
breeds. Yeah.
13?
Yeah.
Man,
A lot. What type of dog do you have?
I don't
Oh, labs are great.
Yes.
I used to have a black lab German Shepherd mix.
I love black labs.
She was scary.
Yeah, I bet.
She was super scary.
That's a fierce dog.
Yeah. She was like a defender,
Yeah.
And now my new dog, she's scared of a lot of things, Simple
Oh, is she a
things.
small dog?
Simple things in life. She's a medium-sized dog.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. She was scared of tile, for example. Like she wouldn't walk in the bathroom because there was tile on the floor. Didn't like the way it felt.
Really?
Little things like that.
Really?
She's scared of everything.
Man.
So it was.
You gotta
fun.
wonder why those. specific
Right, like
things.
what triggered it?
Yeah.
It could have, and you don't know because she was rescued
Oh, so maybe she had
So,
a traumatic experience.
with tile.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes, and she associates that with getting hurt or something like that.
Yeah, I could never tell, but being with the dog, top experience. for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
And then Thanksgiving was good. How was your Thanksgiving?
Good.
Nice
you
to
know,
be around
the
the family.
football was a little disappointing.
Football is so ass.
I love the Bears game. That was fun to watch.
Yeah.
How they blew that,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
But
that's classic Bears.
Well, I do have an idea. It's because they're the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that's
And I
so
was-
bad at football, bro.
Yeah, someone whose whole family is from Chicago. I'm a part-time Bears fan.
Yeah.
I don't really care if they lose, but I'll pull for them if they're on. But that was hard to watch, man. And then the
I didn't even
Cowboys
watch
game
that. And how
sucked.
did they even?
Well, they had the ball at the 35-yard line, the plus 35.
On the opponents? Yeah.
Yes, and they had 53 seconds and a timeout, and they pissed off 40 seconds. They just let 40 seconds piss away. Next thing you know, there's 6 seconds left. Then they hike it, and they throw a deep ball, and the game's over. And they're down by 3 points, so they could just kick a field goal.
God, that is so bad.
And their head coach was fired like 18 hours later.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so I didn't know he got fired. He's out
It
there.
was a pretty big mess up.
Yeah, Thanksgiving football is underrated. for
Oh,
sure.
it's the best. It's the best.
It really is. I think it was the most one of those games, the Cowboys game was the most viewed game all season, just
It's funny
because
that was a terrible game.
shitty game.
Yes.
But people just throw it on in the background,
Yeah.
and it makes sense. You know, it's tradition.
I had to watch Rico Dowdle versus Drew Lock. That was my Thanksgiving.
Oh God,
Saturday-
Drew Lock
Thursday
coming in,
game.
bro.
Yeah.
That was so
Oh my
sick.
gosh, yeah.
After all these years of him being
We
gone.
know about Drew Lock.
We sure do.
We've seen a little too much Drew Lock.
We have seen it enough. But yeah, part of the reason Jack and I even connected was that he was a Broncos fan, and I must say, you have the most random allocation of teams I've ever fucking seen.
Yes.
Like, once my dad met you, and after he met you and you left, he was like, like, what is up with him rooting for all these different teams, bro? Like, it does not make sense. Tell them who you root for.
Well, you can't call me a bandwagon because my team suck. I'm a San Francisco Giants fan. I'm from
For
the Bay
baseball.
Area. Yeah, that one's pretty straightforward.
That one's straightforward.
That one's straightforward. Obviously, I'm a Vols fan. I love the Oregon State Beavers. My brother went there.
Okay.
So, I'm a Broncos fan because my dad, when he was a kid, Elway was at Stanford.
Yeah.
And we live right next to Stanford.
Yeah.
So he would go to all the Stanford games. He loved John Elway. They had season tickets. And when Elway went to the NFL, he's like, okay, I love this dude. I'm going to pull for the Broncos.
Yeah.
And then I'm a Sixers fan because when the Warriors were really good in the Bay Area, we had all these fake fans hopping on. I was a Warriors fan when I was a kid. We had all these fake fans. I got so fed up with it. I got so sick of it. I couldn't stand the fan base. So I bailed. I picked the worst team because the Warriors were the best at the time, and the Sixers were 10-72 that year. So I picked them.
Holy shit.
And yeah, so I don't really watch the Sixers anymore. I'm a bit frustrated with their management. I haven't watched any games this year, but
Okay.
so I wouldn't even say that I'm much of a fan anymore. But that's my NBA team, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you had like you had the Sixers shorts on or something with the San Francisco slides.
And the Broncos shirt.
Did you have the Broncos shirt on that?
Yeah,
day?
my dad has a picture of me. I have a
God,
Giants
dude.
hat on with a Broncos shirt and 76ers pants.
It makes very little sense. When you explain it,
It still makes no sense.
It still makes no sense when you explain it even then. That's okay though. I really respect. Listen, the reason I'm wearing my Nuggets pants right now, Nuggets got a big win against the Warriors last night. I have a lot of hate for the Warriors. No team I hate more in sports, and there's
why?
no athlete I hate more than Steph Curry. So, you leaving the fan base is a good choice.
I still pull for the Dubs. They're my dad's team, so if they're on, I'll pull for them. But
Yeah.
I'm not a Warriors fan by any stretch.
And I'm thankful that you're not a Warriors fan, because otherwise you wouldn't be on this podcast right now.
You know what? If I was a Warriors fan, you couldn't call me a bandwagon because that's my home team.
Yeah.
So
and
there'd be no argument for me being a fake fan. But
That's
I
true.
should have stuck with the Warriors. I do still like the Warriors. At this point, I'm probably more inclined to cheer for them than the Sixers, but I don't care about
Most
the
definitely.
NBA. I don't watch any teams.
Yeah, I only watch only national games if they're important.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's something to be said. Is I kind of wanted to bring this up later, but how much media do you think you're consuming while you've been here?
While I've been here, or just in
while
general?
you've been here.
Social media, or
Anything,
just
because for
watching
me,
TV, playing video games.
Straight up, just there's a lot of it for me.
Well, I mean, if you're going to talk about consuming media, I mean, if you're on the computer doing homework, that's
Technically a form of
yeah.
media,
But
sure.
I see what you're saying. That the social media, the doom scrolling, the vid games, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The TV.
Yeah.
I'd say Sundays I consume about 12 hours of media when I sit down and watch football all day, and
Yeah.
I don't move. I don't move all day.
Do you
on Sunday.
eat?
I eat. I go to the dining hall when
And
the
then come
Broncos
back.
are at halftime. I bring my my box and I get food and I
Yeah.
bring it back to the door.
Oh yeah.
I don't
the
even
ta-
stick
to
around.
go- You don't
Yeah,
even
I don't
stay
stick
to
around.
eat. Okay.
But I probably am on social media on Instagram for maybe an hour a day, and then I'm texting people on Snapchat for maybe an hour and a half a day.
Yeah.
Apart from that, play half an hour of vid games, watch about an hour of TV. I wouldn't say it's too much. I wouldn't say it's an issue. I like to watch TV in my time off.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I consume more than 4.5, 5 hours of total media unless it's a Sunday.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's
What about
really
you?
bad. I don't know. I was just thinking about it, like coming into college, and there definitely have been weeks where the media is way less. But I thought, first of all, I thought Snapchat wasn't going to be as big of a thing as it is. I kind of thought Snapchat would kind of go away a little bit, and people would start, not interacting more, but spending less time on social media
Yeah.
stuff. But it really doesn't change much.
No.
And it hasn't changed much for me either, which I'm trying to get better at. But like, I don't know, it just surprises me, even with all the stuff going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids that will sit in their dorm room and choose to play video games or watch TV, which is fine.
I don't get it.
But it's also not good for even the long run. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even then, like, I wouldn't say I'm a dorm merchant. That's what I like to call people like that. A dorm merchant. A dorm merchant, someone who camps the dorm out all day, doesn't leave. That's not me. But there's still a fair amount of stuff that I'm consuming during the day, which I don't know about you, but sometimes I really do think about that, like, of just the statistical part. Like, if I consumed an hour less or 2 hours less every day, like, think about where could I be in my life right now? And it's hard to say. It's easy to say that, hard to actually do that.
Yes. And if you spend that hour researching stocks to invest in, right, stuff like that.
Right, think about that.
Looking for jobs, anything like that, man. Reaching out to people for interviews or stuff like that. I'll tell you, I don't like being in the dorm because I feel unproductive. And I'll tell you, I'll clarify what I said with the media. When I'm watching TV for an hour or 2 hours a day, that's when it's Thursday night football, Monday night football, Sunday night football, and I'm watching with other people.
Yes.
So I'm socializing.
Still
I'm around other people, and when I play
100%.
video games most of the time, that's also with other people. You know, we're putting wagers on games of Madden and stuff like that. $20 for whoever wins.
Yeah.
But it's fun when you're doing it with other people. I'm not a huge kind of guy to watch TV alone. But I mean, I'll have something on in the background.
Yeah. I think there's definitely something to be said about consuming media with people versus without.
Yeah.
Because for me, even when I went home for break, there was a lot of, I'm a YouTube kid. Like, I really am to heart. I'm a YouTube kid. And with YouTube, I like to watch it alone. So I will find myself sitting there for 2-3 hours, like, without any socialization, which, I don't know, I'm just like, I'm catching up, but at the same time, I'm slowing down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm slowing myself down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other thing with that is, sometimes when I think of people that have made it so far, like famous people, even they are consuming the media. And you really don't see that because you think that they're just working all the time. Some of them are, but it's important to remember that, like, even though I'm talking about limiting media, watching TV is, like, that's just relaxation, and everyone needs time off.
Yes.
Even the, like, NBA players, NFL players, actresses, actors, they're all consuming media too.
Yes.
They're all probably still watching TV with their families after a long day of work.
100%.
So it's pretty normal. I think it's limiting the amount. And that's definitely not where I expected to go with that, but that's what I thought of.
No, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example of it. I mean, our former president and soon-to-be president is on Twitter like 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
He's firing off tweets all the time. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree with it, or I'm not criticizing it, but the example is, it's not like
If you're on
these
Twitter 5
important
hours a
people.
day-
It's not like these important people aren't consuming media, because the most important person in the country
Yeah.
is consuming media for
Much
that
higher
much.
than average.
Much higher than average, if
Yeah.
not, if certainly not below average.
Yeah.
So, you know, and whether he uses that for promotional purposes or not is another issue, but he's still consuming the media, and you know, it's I think that it's a worldwide issue. People need to kind of retract themselves from media, because from media stems a lot of other problems like cancel culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That we're seeing a lot of today, but there's a lot of problems with using so much media.
Yeah, and we can get into that after, probably towards the end of the episode here, but one thing I wanted to talk about before we get into finals, I'm really excited for this segment. So basically, like, maybe last year, I had an idea. I like to journal a lot. Shout out Jared McCain. He got me into journaling. But I like to journal a lot, and one day I was just thinking, like, what if I got other people to write in my journal? Like, if I had a journal just for the people that I meet in my life that I might not see again, and have them write something to me, or like write a piece of advice down. And I think that'd be super dope to, like, collect a journal of everyone's thoughts, right? It'd be like the human race journal almost.
Yeah.
And on my plane ride home, I was talking to the dude to my right on the seat next to me, and I was talking to him. I found out that he had just gotten out of prison for 5 years.
For what?
And I never found out for what.
Probably
never
better.
found out for what. But he was a really cool dude, and towards the end of the plane flight, I was just thinking, like, I would love to hear this guy's thoughts on life, or what type of advice can he give me, because he's in a place right now that I don't understand, that most of us can't understand.
Yeah, and
So
hopefully never will.
He hopefully never will, but he wrote something in this journal, and I haven't read it yet, and I'm going to read it right now, because I wanted to read it on the podcast. So his name was Brady, and the plane flight back was November 24th.
Okay.
This is
to
written
Denver.
on an Allegiant airplane, a shitty ass airplane, but here we go. He wrote his name. I just got out of prison. One thing I like, though, is your ability to look me in the eye and have a respectful conversation. That is a lost art nowadays with our generation. Keep making the next right choice. Educate yourself as much as possible. And always ask, would my mother approve of this behavior or attitude? It will keep you out of a lot of trouble. Don't get anybody pregnant you don't love. Stay positive. Go Wolves. That was his journal entry.
You know, I will say that piece of, I have noticed that about you. You're very respectful of others when you're in a conversation with them. I've seen it in our class that we're in together with the teachers that we have. But that's good advice, man. I mean, it's like also, I believe don't do anything that Jesus wouldn't want you to do. But oftentimes you think, well, Jesus is a God, he's perfect. So, you know, it's hard to, you shouldn't compare yourself, but it's hard to compare yourself.
Yeah.
Why do I have to live up to the standard?
100%.
That's the thing a lot of people struggle with. But when you think of it as mom, that's someone who is a positive role model in your life.
Yeah.
And if you're doing things like he mentioned, like getting people pregnant, sleeping around, something he didn't mention, if you're doing drugs, these are not behaviors that your mother or Jesus would approve of. And I think that when you put it in that lens, it can kind of help you steer yourself away from it, if that makes sense.
No, that's good advice for sure. I think it's interesting that he mentioned just the lost art of having a respectful conversation.
Yeah.
And that truly does go right back to the media, because I was having a conversation with my aunt, my mom, over Thanksgiving or the day before, and I was just talking about how my dad and my uncle, they just had, and they're not blood related, by the way, like my uncle meaning it's my dad's best friend.
Right.
Basically family.
Right.
Everyone can most people know what I'm talking about. But those two are so close that it's just like I want that relationship in my life. You know what I mean? Like if it was you and me, that's how I would want our relationship to
Absolutely.
be. Is they're always talking about their stories. They're always talking about all the stupid shit they used to do as kids. But it's the funniest stuff ever. And I was thinking about that, and I was telling my mom and my aunt, I was just saying, like, I think the social media has ruined it for us. I really do, because I had a good childhood, but even now, and I stayed away from, I didn't have a phone until 6th or 7th grade, which was good for me.
Yeah.
But even right now, in this moment, kids who are growing up, they're immediately have the technology with them.
Yeah.
And I think that prevents you from developing stories. Like, I think that prevents you from living your life. And I was just thinking, I don't feel like I have as many stories as my dad and uncle do, you know?
Yeah.
I have a lot of beautiful stories, like funny stories, but maybe not as much because of that media stuff.
Yeah, and I will say, my mom always used to tell me stories about how her mother would say, go hang out in the backyard and don't come back until dinner's ready.
Yeah.
Or stuff like that. Not in those exact words, but like, find something to do.
Yeah.
And make it, like,
Get it away
get
from
out of my
me.
way.
Yeah.
Like I'm making dinner for 4 kids and your father, so like, get out of my way.
Yeah.
And growing up in the Bay Area where technology is a big deal. That is the heart of technology in the world.
Yeah.
And especially because the houses there are so small, the properties are so small, we can't just go outside, and there is no outside.
Yeah.
So we can't just, I mean, outside is just a street. I would play basketball for hours a day. But I mean, most of the time, if it's find something to do, it's okay, I'll go watch Survivor for 3 hours, or I'll go I'll go. I wasn't big into reading, so I'll go play basketball, or maybe I'll go play a video game. But you know, when you live in an area that's so hyper competitive, you don't really make friends with your neighbors, especially because the public school education was terrible in California. So I went to private school, and therefore I didn't live next to a bunch of my classmates. So I didn't walk to school with anybody or really carpool with people because my school was 30 minutes away. So I didn't know anyone in my neighborhood that went to my school. So I couldn't really make friendships with people that lived near me. I have to drive 20 minutes to go see my best friend. I have to drive 40 minutes to go see my friends. So you know, it's difficult in an area like that, especially where technology is such a revolving thing in society. So I mean, that's the part that you mentioned. Is my mom has a lot more stories of her and her siblings messing around outside than me and my brother do.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I don't know, for us it was limited because the technology still wasn't quite there. I think now it's really bad. I think now it's just not even comparable. And that's why I really would say, like, if I could go back to a time where there weren't phones, I probably would do it.
I would too.
I probably would. I just think it's just hurt a lot of things that you don't realize it until you've grown up a little bit. And there are a lot of positives to it too, but
There's some.
just from like the child, just having a childhood, you know, it takes away from that entirely.
Yeah.
Like honestly, dude, the hours of YouTube that I've consumed could have been spent doing something with my family, with my friends. Even this is like teenage years that we're talking about. It's not even like childhood at this point. It's like high school. We're still doing this in high school. We're still doing this in college.
Yeah.
And that's your time to go like experience stuff.
And make the friends that are gonna last a lifetime.
Yeah, and you don't like.
And people aren't doing it.
Bro, I was sitting in my basement, being a basement merchant, watching YouTube. I don't know, maybe I could have driven to Starbucks and met my best friend. You don't know.
Never
Like, you
know.
just don't know what could have happened if you would just use your time differently.
You could be on a plane talking to an ex-convict,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean, you meet all sorts of people in life, man. And
yeah.
yeah, best advice I can give anyone is to not. Don't when you're sitting next to someone on a plane, or when you're sitting next to someone on a bus, or when you have an opportunity to meet someone new, don't take the easy way out. Don't put the headphones on.
Yeah.
Don't immerse yourself in the plane movies. Get to know someone, because you never know what you never know what God's purpose is for your lives connected.
Right.
So
That's such a good piece of advice, honestly.
I mean, it's just don't take the easy way out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you do, but a lot of people do.
No, I still will do it in certain occasions. Yes.
It's easy to. I do it too.
No, it's
Sometimes
sometimes you're too tired to would be
Yeah,
the excuse or something
exactly.
like that. But yeah, one thing that I always want to get better at is just meeting new people. I don't know, for me it's just something that it brings energy for me. Like, that gives me energy of getting to know someone who I haven't met before. There's so bro, 8 billion people on earth, like,
and
Jesus,
you know maybe a couple thousand.
right, maybe.
Maybe.
If you know a lot of people.
Yeah,
then
and
you know a
that's
couple thousand.
and you're friends with probably 50 of them.
Yeah. So like why not just go meet another person? You know, that's
Why
kind of
not?
the thing about that. And look at that was beautiful. Like what
It
he wrote
was.
down truly was beautiful, and it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't said something to him, you know, and found out what his story was, which I'm just happy
Yes.
about that. And right after, I asked him. Funny enough, we're talking about the media stuff. I asked for his Instagram, and he gave me his number since he didn't have an Instagram. And like 3 minutes later, he just texted me. He was like, "Hey, I hope you have a blessed Thanksgiving. You know, I hope I can repay the favor sometime." Because I showed him where baggage claim was, but he was like, "I hope I can repay the favor sometime," and all this stuff. It was just super dope ass dude, bro.
Yeah, sounds like a great guy.
But that's what anyone can turn their conversation with someone on the bus into that.
And anyone can turn their life around. I mean, that guy was in prison for 5 years now. God knows what he was in there for. But it goes to show that a couple choices in people's life, depending on the magnitude, obviously.
Yeah.
If you kill someone, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
But a couple choices in people's life where they fell into the wrong crowd, and maybe maybe they made a couple wrong choices, does not define who you are. It never does. It's the same thing with grades. We're talking about finals. You go into finals, you get a D-, it does not define who you are.
No, absolutely not. And it doesn't define where you're going to go.
No, a lot of people forget about that. A lot
Yeah.
of people forget about that. So.
Yeah, it's very easy to stress out about this sort of stuff, and it's important to prepare for it.
It is, and it is stressful material. It is something that is worthy of stress.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, not having straight A's, I mean, if you get a C-, like if you get a bad grade, it's just not the end of the world, you know?
It's not.
How do you feel about the butterfly effect? The idea that every decision basically matters in where you end up in your life. Like, to what extent do you believe in that?
Well, I'm going to use a little bit of profanity here, so pardon my language.
All right, go for it.
The greatest teacher I ever had, a beautiful human being, still plays a big role in my life. He's taught me so many valuable life lessons, and I love him to death. He told me in high school, I had him as a high school teacher, and I got a bad grade on one of his assignments. And I go into his office hours, and I said, you know, I'm a little concerned. I got a bad grade on this assignment. He goes, why are you concerned? I said, because it's going to affect my grade. He says, and then what? I says, well, I won't get into college. He says, and then what? I said, well, then if I don't get into a good college, I won't get a good job. And he says, then you're going to have a terrible life, right? He's like, dude, it's one assignment that is worth like 1/4% of your grade.
Yeah.
You think that I didn't get a good grade on this assignment, so I'm not going to get a good grade in this class,
Mhm.
so I'm not going to get into a good college, so I'm not going to get a good job, so I'm not going to get married, so I'm not going to have a good life. So
All from one assignment.
From one assignment.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work that way, it's bullshit. To be honest with you, it's bullshit. And I think that every choice has an effect on where your life takes you in the immediate aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that I got a B in math in first grade. That wasn't even possible. I got a C in math in 5th grade. I got a lot of bad grades on a lot of tests.
Yeah.
That I studied for. I got a 14% on a test one time that I studied for.
Okay.
A 14%. Yeah. And here I am. Here I am at UT. I got straight A's, and I'm gonna have a successful life. And that goes to show you it matters. But it's just, I hate that theory that one thing leads to another, and a domino effect leads to you having a bad life. If you want your life to be bad, if you obsess over things like that, your life will be bad.
Yeah.
If you move on and learn from it, and create a new strategy for next time, you're gonna have a great life.
Okay, I completely agree. It's more, I think it was more of you failing that test, right? Was
Mhm.
kind of meant to happen. That's like, or
Maybe.
maybe I don't really understand the butterfly effect in its full.
I don't either. I was just going off of my understanding.
Yeah,
of what the
no,
question-
that most definitely makes sense. I remember there was one positive figure in the media, definitely. Smaller creator, but his name is Matt Diavella. He's on YouTube, and he'll do the videos that counteract media. He'll do going 1 month without my phone,
Yeah.
or he'll do like top 5 things to keep in mind. I remember one of the rules was, if something will not matter within the next 5 years, then you should not be worrying about it for more than 5 minutes.
Then what are you doing? Yeah, that's a great rule.
Because at the end of the day, I don't know, if you fail one class, multiple classes even, is that going to affect you in the next 5 years? Probably not. I mean,
It may.
it may.
If
But
you fail multiple.
If you fail out, yes.
Yes. That will
But
obviously affect
maybe let's just say one bad exam grade.
No, it's not gonna
Most
affect
definitely. And the thing you said, and what grade were you when you went?
Oh, that teacher, I had him in 10th grade, but he was my college counselor.
Okay.
In 12th grade. I have a continuing relationship that continues this day with him. I'm still in contact with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, almost every week. So.
Do you ever think about going back and meeting up with him again?
Well, he used to live in my neighborhood. Actually, he lived very close by to me, and so we used to get breakfast and such.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great man. I appreciate him greatly. But if I go back, certainly he's one of the people I will visit first.
Yeah.
He's a great man.
I want to make sure we're recording.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright.
I sure hope we are.
We are.
Okay, good. Good.
I just always get paranoid about.
That would have been disastrous
For sure.
if we were not recording.
No, there's one of the things that I really look forward to going back this next time. And it's dope because that means like we've pretty much done the same thing, but I really do admire your ability to like really curate a relationship with someone. That's why our friendship is so tight.
I appreciate that.
But there's not many people that I talk to that have a relationship with their teachers. Is that fair to say? Like, do you know many people that have that type of relationship with their teachers?
And I was very lucky in high school that was the specialty of the school. The education was fine. It was okay. I'm not going to Yale. At the end of the day, I'm going to Tennessee, which is a good school, but
Yep.
it ain't Ivy League. The education was fine, but the teachers really connected with you on another level that I've never experienced before, and I never will experience again.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. I just think that the relationships that I have with my teachers, like I want those to last longer than just the class.
Yes.
You know, I remember there was one time, and she wasn't even the best teacher I've had, but there was one time after my sophomore year, I'd just taken the final in class, and everyone emptied out of the classroom, and I was just standing there in the classroom alone, just like tearing up a little bit, just thinking about like, this is the end of an era.
Yeah.
This is the end of my sophomore year, and you're just watching the time pass. But just being able to have a relationship with the people who taught you is big. And one of the main things I look forward to going back for break is to see all of those teachers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was even, a lot of people consider it weird.
Not
right?
weird at all.
But, well, what I'm about to say, a lot of people consider weird. I remember the first thing I wanted to do to branch this thing out, to branch this podcast out, was to interview my teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And the first teacher I wanted to interview was my psychology teacher. And so, as weird as it may seem, he has no ill intentions. He's one of the most kind men in the world. He came to my house and we recorded it. And like, that's just the sort of relationship we had. It was just kind of like yes, we're students, but like more than anything, I know that there's an age gap here, but we're friends.
Yeah.
Like, and he didn't want to record it at the school for whatever reason. And it might sound weird to a lot of people, but he just came over and we recorded it at my house. And he had one of the best episodes I've ever had, because it was super natural. I got to talk to him about all the stuff that a student may wonder about, but those types of relationships are special.
Yeah.
And you had that with your counselor.
I did.
And I think being able to reconnect with those people will be great.
Yeah, and then, yeah, exactly. I mean, my counselor, like I said, lived very, very close to me, 2-minute drive. And there was times where I need help on my college essay. I'd drive to his house.
That's pretty dope.
And I'd knock on the door, and he'd open the door, and he'd help me with my essay.
So it's the same, almost the same idea.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not weird at all, because at the end of the day, this is someone who I'm close with, regardless of the age gap. The age of my grandpa, I'm close to my grandpa. I go to my grandpa's house all the time.
Yeah.
And he's like a family member to me. He really is. So I don't find it weird at all.
Yeah, I think people, people very much overlook the idea that you can be friends with someone who is much older than you.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess that does say something about your maturity. It does, because if you have a relationship with your counselor that is that special, I think that takes a level of maturity, because a lot of kids won't look at it that way.
Yeah.
You know, they're just trying to get out of there, go to the next class, get to the next year of
Whatever.
school.
Go eat lunch.
You know?
Go play video games.
But
Go
there's a
back to
lot
work.
of special people that helped the both of us get here.
Yes.
And it wasn't easy to get here,
It took an army for me to get here.
100%. Because what was the acceptance rate?
27 out of state.
Right.
27%. We
It
both
was
applied out of
not-
state. I get in-state tuition now
It
because
might have even been 24.
I moved here, but 24.
It was
I know at
something.
Georgia it was 16,
Yeah,
and I did not get into Georgia.
I didn't either.
But I'm glad I ended up here. I
Me too,
I think
me
we
too.
all
Did I tell you about my trip to Athens?
are. Mm-mm.
I went to Athens for the Georgia-Tennessee game.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I don't envy you.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I think it was a nice wake-up call, like, this really is the school that we were meant to be at. I went over to Georgia, and it's just very different from here.
It is
in a
different.
lot of ways.
It is different, and I will say I do love Athens.
Yeah.
Athens is really cool. Knoxville's dope. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna say one's better than the other.
Yeah,
But I do love Athens. It's a wonderful town. It's really cool. But Knoxville's got its place now.
yeah. I think we were meant to end up here. The reason I say that, Georgia is huge. Like that, it is a big
The
school.
campus is massive too.
Massive campus. It is hard to get around.
And it is
let
a
me tell
beautiful
you.
campus, but it is hard.
Beautiful, but really hard to get around. I think being able to walk to the rec center, something we take for granted,
Yeah.
can't do that in Georgia.
No, you can't.
You've got a bus over there.
You gotta take the shuttle.
The party scene is probably the biggest reason that I don't think you would like it. The reason I don't think I'd like it. They have the most bars per capita in any city in the world.
I believe it.
They have
In the
like,
world.
Let's just say the nation.
Okay, because yeah, I wouldn't be shocked because America loves its bars, but there's got to be some places in
Yeah.
Ireland that have pubs and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, they had like, I've heard different numbers. It was maybe 40, maybe 80 bars just for freshmen. So now you're talking 200. If you look it up, 200 bars in Athens is what it is. I can look it up right now.
Yeah, when I was there, that's one of the things that I noticed. There's a lot of bars, but I love the way that Athens downtown is laid out. It's really
It is
cool.
beautiful.
It is a really cool place, and it is a college town. I'd say it's more of a college town than Knoxville is, because Knoxville's a city.
Yeah,
I'd say Athens is more of a college town feel,
100%.
like a more of a small town. I think Knoxville's trying to be a college town. It's a city. It's a cool city.
Yeah.
And it is, the Strip is a cool part of the college town, but I don't think it's really that much of a college town.
No, it's because you still have people living here.
Yeah, a
You
lot.
still have people that are making their lives here that are much older than us. So,
Yeah,
it was 80, by the way. 80
that's
total.
insane. That's insane.
Way less than I thought.
But still, way more than I thought.
80 is a lot.
That's a
Sure.
lot.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with partying, but it was just a different vibe. Like going out on Friday night with my buddy, the amount of people, bro, overwhelming for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm just not. I couldn't do like their best. I remember my buddy told me the best day to go out there is Tuesday night
Why?
because I think they have like social events for their fraternity.
Okay.
A lot of the fraternities will do stuff on Tuesdays. Tuesday night is their main night. Imagine that.
That's- I
Tuesday,
couldn't do
Wednesday,
that.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like it is all week out there.
I couldn't do that.
Beautiful town, but the culture there is way, way different than here.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I haven't been to a single bar since I've been here. I don't have a fake ID,
Yeah.
so I don't go to bars. I'm not a partier. I think partying in moderation is fine. I
Yeah.
did it a couple times in high school. I partied a couple times in high school. But if you do it too much, you're wasting your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you really are.
Similar to the media stuff.
Yes, but at parties, typically you're consuming things and you're doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing.
I agree.
And unless you're the designated driver like I always was in high school, and that was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. But I think I think if you go to parties a lot, you're wasting your time a lot of your time.
I think some of the stories that come out of that are hilarious.
Oh, I have great stories that I will
Amazing
never
stories.
forget.
But does it counteract the bad decisions made? I don't know.
I think I used to go to parties in high school there was a party every other Saturday, maybe every Saturday. I'd probably go once a month.
Yeah.
And I'd have fun, man. We my buddies and I, we'd mess around. And
Yeah.
but we weren't doing anything too stupid. We'd be idiots, but it was nothing serious, you
Yeah.
know? So as long as you understand the weight of your actions and the amount of stupid shit you can do and still be, upright and have your head on straight, then you find a good balance. But I wouldn't recommend partying more than once every other week, because if you're going out every weekend and you're getting drunk Friday night, you're getting drunk Saturday night, and you're living it up every night, it's a waste of your life. And if you do ever make it big or make a lot of money, it leads to irresponsible financial decisions later in
Mhm.
life. And I think it leads to alcoholism and drug abuse a lot of the time.
What do you think is the proper way to live? If it's like, what is the alternative to going out? Because there are a lot of kids that do go out Friday, Saturday. Like, what is the alternative for you if you're not going out?
Well, my idea of fun is hanging out with buddies and watching a football game.
Yeah.
Or maybe playing Madden for $20, or that's my fun, is just hanging out with a group of guys that I love. I had a lot of distant friends in high school. I had a lot of friends that were, just friends. But I had a really solid group of guys. It was a small group of guys, maybe 5 or 6 guys that were just like my best friends, man.
Yeah.
And we would hang out almost every night, but we weren't going out and partying and drinking. I mean, we went to a couple parties together. We went to a fair amount of them, but that was once a month. The rest of the time we're going out, we're getting dinner, we're going, to the beach at 9 o'clock at night for some reason, go have a bonfire.
Yeah.
But those are the memories that I'll never forget. And I think a lot of the times the memories of parties are great, but a lot of times you forget the memories of parties because you drink.
That's
so
true.
much.
That is very true. I think it depends on the person.
It does.
For us, it's fair to say that once every 2 weeks is good.
Yeah.
I think there also is an aspect of like the people that are going out Friday, Saturday. That's their choice, and they still have a good time.
It is. They do have a good time.
I don't know. Yes, I guess they could be like making better memories, but it's a fun time.
Oh, it is a
I wouldn't
great
diss
time.
them for going out every weekend.
No, and I don't diss anyone. It's not my business what they choose to do, but it is my business what I choose to do.
100%.
And that's not what I choose to do. I choose to go to a party. I haven't been to a party in college. I went to a party in high school, like I said, once about every month, and I'd see people there that I know. I saw my teammates there. We had a blast, man.
Yeah.
It's great memories, especially when you're sober and everyone else is drunk. Those are the funniest times.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
everyone else is acting a fool.
Yeah.
And you get to witness it. But I'm not a huge partier, and that's my right, and it's someone else's right to go out Friday, Saturday, and I'm not going to criticize them for that, because I don't know how hard they've been working the whole week. They've been working hard the whole week, and that's their way to decompress, and that's their
Right.
way to decompress. I'm not going
Right.
to criticize it, but I choose not to do that.
No, most definitely. And I respect that. I think that's why we connect a little bit more on that level for sure.
Mhm.
Is just we're not super big partiers.
No.
at the moment.
And there's nothing wrong with having a couple drinks,
No, there's not.
but
Fine balance.
yeah, balance. That's
Fine
exactly
balance.
right.
And that's the whole story of college. Is
Yes.
a balance of everything. It's hard to do. But the last thing I want to get into is kind of you mentioned briefly just kind of how like maybe the partying creates irresponsible decisions down the line if you end up having money and whatnot.
Yes, I believe it does.
There's definitely something to be said about that with the connection to all these celebrities kind of going downhill. I don't know. I thought this was an interesting thing that I wanted to bring up, but there are so many celebrities right now that are being exposed for all sorts of things.
Disgusting, actually.
Disgusting things. And I think it's interesting why now? Why is it all coming out now? I think it took time for these people to kind of develop into that type of person.
Yes.
But what do you think is the reasoning? There's a correlation here. I mean, there's just a lot of famous people being exposed
There
for a
is.
lot of bad things. Why do you think that happens?
Well, I think part of it is the fact that we do live in the digital era.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it because now you have cameras, you have subpoenas from the FBI where they can, as far as I know, they can put a camera in someone's house if they have a warrant to do that. And,
Yeah.
And so it leads to the cameras and all that kind of stuff. It helps the authorities keep better track of people that are committing these actions. And so, one of my favorite shows on television are these forensic shows, and they are catching murderers and people that are doing these things at these parties, like you mentioned, at an unbelievable rate because of the technology we have
Mhm.
now. And it's better for society that these people aren't getting away with the disgusting actions that they've been committing. But I think the reason it's so prevalent now that people are getting caught all of a sudden is because the advancement of technology allows forensics investigators and FBI investigators it gives them greater resources to catching these people as they should be caught, and they're going to go straight from prison to hell if they don't repent for their actions.
Most definitely. But do you think that becoming famous leads to this sort of thing, or is this let's put it this way. You have society as a whole. Let's separate the normal people from the famous people just
Yes.
for a second. Everyone's normal, but the people that are your middle class, lower class, whatever you want to call them, there's a percentage of those people that are murderers, people committing crime, correct?
Absolutely.
Do you think that percentage is the same within the group of famous people, or is it inflated?
I would say for murderers, pardon me, the rate for murderers, it's hard to tell. I'd say there's a lot of famous people who have committed a lot of heinous acts.
Probably not murder though.
Probably not murder.
It goes lower.
Probably not murder, because that is pretty much the most easily traceable crime.
Yeah.
And so, I think a lot of these celebrities, especially the ones that we're hearing about now, I won't point out any names, but I think we all know. I think the actions they're committing are worse than murder. And so, I think for crime in general, I think the rate for crime in general is higher for famous people, because the drugs that a lot of them do, because they no longer have a thrill in life because they've already accomplished so much, they turn to drugs. And a lot of people don't really view doing drugs as a crime because it's not prosecuted a lot. It still is a crime, and so that the rate for drugs for rich people is through the roof. Hallucinogens like mushrooms, and you also have other drugs like heroin that these people do. We've had so many people die from drug overdoses. You know, Tom Petty is a phenomenal musician who died from drug overdose. Drugs have ruined so many lives, and especially famous people who see a lot of drug overdoses, a lot of drug use, and whether or not our society views it as one that is still a crime. So I think the crime rate for famous people, I think a lot of them evade their taxes. I think a lot of them do these disgusting things like we saw at these Diddy parties that we've been seeing in the news about those. So yeah, I think a lot of these famous people do commit these actions that probably a lot more often than the general public.
Yeah, it just interests me because what is it that is causing it? You know, and part of it, that drug part makes sense. You get to that point, you have all of this money, all this fame. You're either not happy with it anymore, or maybe you were never happy with it.
Yeah.
So you start relying on the drugs to make you feel better, or maybe you already had it all.
Yeah.
And you want to continue to feel that, so you use the drugs then. Or it just could be simply you have enough money to afford it in high amounts.
And you're like, what else am I going to do? Yeah.
Right. It's just sad, but it's also just so interesting to me because this will get into the very last question. But for me, you know, if I could have it all, if my dream life would be, and I told people this, my dream life would be to be famous, to be known. That's what I would want. But then after saying it and after looking at the trends, but now I'm starting to think, do I really want that?
Yeah.
Would I really want to be famous anymore? Because all of these famous people are struggling, and they're doing things, they've done things.
A lot of bad things.
A lot of terrible things. And I just wonder if there's a certain correlation there, just like being famous and being normal. And I don't know if those two things can exist for the majority of them. Because I've seen multiple YouTubers, I mean, literally, you take Mr. Beast, the biggest YouTuber on the world, being exposed for stuff that he was doing earlier, you know? And I just start to wonder if being famous is even a healthy goal at this point.
Yeah, and I'm glad that that you're coming to that belief, because I think when I think about it, when I think what would it be like to have it all, and that question everyone has asked themselves, and I realize I do have it all.
Yeah.
I have a God who's forgiven me for my own sins, and I'm going to go to heaven, and I'm going to see the family members that I've lost along the way. I have a roof over my head every night. I live in the United States. I can vote. I have rights. I can speak. The only reason I can speak about God like this is because I live in the United States.
Yeah.
So, I do have it all. I have a father who provides for our family. I have wonderful family. I have an amazing brother, an amazing dog who I love, like we talked about earlier, and I have the best friends I could ever ask for, you included. So, you know, it's a tricky situation when we start thinking about what it would be like to have it all, because if you live in the U.S. and you have a roof over your head,
you already do.
You already do have it all, more than 99.9% of people.
Yeah, that's that's hard too, because I would say I agree with you. I would say I already have everything that I could ever want, so much more than everyone else has in the majority of the world. But then you're still searching for more.
Yeah, and I will say
and that's something that every American does.
Exactly. exactly. And I'll say that, like, last thing I'll say on this point is, the Broncos is like so fucking pissed off. I am so fucking pissed off when the Broncos lose. I can't take it. I get so angry. And I realize, man, if my football team, who I love very dearly, I love the Broncos, if my football team losing is the worst thing that happened to me this week,
Yeah.
I got a great life.
Yeah.
This team, these guys don't even know who I am. They
Yeah.
don't know I exist. They're guys I watch on television every week, and I don't like the outcome of a TV program.
Right.
That's my biggest problem. I got a good life. I got a good life.
Most definitely. That leads me to my last question for you. What do you want from the rest of your life? Like, what is your dream, and what does it look like for you? And I don't know if I think, yes, we already have it all. Then you can kind of separate it into like accomplishments. Like, we still have our goals,
Yes.
and that we are right to chase those goals, I would say. Maybe not to chase money. That's a separate conversation. But what is your dream then? Because my dream, I don't know what it is anymore, but what is your dream? What is the not perfect, but the most ideal future look like for you?
Well, I'd say that, my dream is to have a family that I love and to provide for them. That's all there is to it. And to put a roof over their head and to put food on the table, because I've never wanted to be famous. To me, I think it takes away from a lot of the beautiful parts of life. And there's a trade-off. If you're famous, you have a lot of extra resources, but these are all resources of the earth and not of the soul. And so I think what's good for the soul is having wonderful family and providing for family and having great friends like you. That's happiness for me. And I'll say, like, for me, that the true joy, my goal in life is to experience true joy. And true joy comes from, it's a spelled out acronym, J-O-Y, spells joy, putting Jesus first, putting others second, putting yourself last. And if you put others before yourself, you put Jesus before yourself, you're going to be very happy, and it's going to lead to a wonderful life.
Well, that's very impactful. It's very special. I think that's a very beautiful way to look at life. And we got very serious in this episode, but I appreciate you riding it out with me.
Of course, man.
Pleasure
Anytime.
having you on,
Thank you
bro.
for having me on.
I really did look forward to this. I think it's the perfect episode to shoot off into the break.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't talk about finals too much, but
I don't want to.
nope.
I don't
Didn't
want
need to. I mean,
Stress
we've
me
already
out.
done enough studying. I don't want to think about it anymore. But thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
I think
having
it was a special episode, and I knew it was going to be like this. Easy person to talk to, one of my best friends here. So appreciate you for coming on, my
me. You
boy.
the man, brother.
Yes, sir. All right.
Go Broncos.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Granted. We out 5,000. We'll catch you next week.